Ethiopia, Africa's second most populous nation, is a giant without a coastline, its economic ambitions and national pride stifled by its landlocked status. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has made sea access a national priority, framing it as essential for Ethiopia's survival and growth. This quest, once a distant hope, now dominates regional politics, fueling tensions and drawing in global powers. The central question: can Ethiopia achieve its dream peacefully, or will its pursuit ignite a new conflict in the Horn of Africa? Not long ago, Ethiopia was a nation with direct access to the Red Sea, projecting its influence through the bustling ports of Eritrea. The country's ships sailed freely, and its economy thrived on maritime trade, connecting Ethiopia to the wider world. The Red Sea was not just a body of water, it was Ethiopia's lifeline, a gateway for commerce, culture, and opportunity. But in 1993, everything changed. Eritrea's independence abruptly severed Ethiopia's access to the sea, leaving the nation landlocked overnight. Suddenly, a country that once looked outward found itself hemmed in by borders, its maritime ambitions dashed in a single stroke. For a brief moment, there was hope. An arrangement allowed Ethiopia to use Eritrean ports. But this fragile cooperation quickly unraveled as war erupted between the two neighbors, shattering any prospects for peaceful trade and severing all economic ties. With its northern routes closed, Ethiopia was forced to turn to Djibouti, a small neighboring country, to handle nearly all of its imports and exports. Today, an astonishing 95% of Ethiopia's trade flows through Djibouti's ports, making this corridor the country's economic lifeline. But this dependency comes at a steep price. Ethiopia spends up to $2 billion every year on port fees, logistics, and transit costs, money that could otherwise fuel development at home. Even more troubling, Ethiopia's reliance on a single route leaves it exposed to risks beyond its control. Any disruption, be it political tension, port congestion, or regional instability, can bring trade to a standstill, threatening the nation's economy and food security. Recognizing this vulnerability, Ethiopian leaders have made it a top priority to find alternatives. They see the lack of direct sea access as a strategic weakness that must be overcome for the country to achieve its full potential. This has fueled a relentless search for new trade routes, partnerships, and even negotiations for port access with neighboring countries. The quest for alternatives is now a central theme in Ethiopia's foreign policy and economic planning. Ethiopia's ambitions to become a regional powerhouse are constrained by its dependence on a single, narrow corridor. The country's growth, stability, and future prosperity all hinge on breaking free from this geographic isolation. Today, the drive for a sovereign port is more than just an economic goal. It has become a defining national mission, uniting Ethiopians in their determination to reclaim access to the sea and secure their place on the global stage. Eritrea's ports, perched on the edge of the Red Sea, seem like the obvious answer to Ethiopia's landlocked dilemma. For centuries, these harbors have connected the region to the wider world, serving as vital arteries for trade and cultural exchange. Today, they remain a tantalizing prospect for Ethiopia, whose economic ambitions are stifled by lack of direct sea access. Yet the promise of cooperation is overshadowed by a long and bitter history. Decades of war, border disputes, and deep-seated mistrust have made meaningful collaboration nearly impossible. The scars of past conflicts are visible not just in the landscape, but in the hardened attitudes of both nations' leaders and citizens. Eritrea, having fought a long and costly struggle for independence, is fiercely protective of its hard-won sovereignty. The memory of sacrifice and loss is still fresh, fueling a determination to never again be dominated or dictated to by outside powers, including its larger neighbor. Even when the two countries found themselves on the same side during the Tigray War, their alliance was uneasy and short-lived. Temporary cooperation could not erase decades of suspicion, nor could it lay the foundation for lasting trust. In recent years, accusations of interference and covert operations have only deepened the rift. Both nations now stand on edge, their militaries on high alert, as the threat of renewed conflict looms ever closer. For Eritrea, Ethiopia's push for access to the sea is not seen as a matter of economic necessity, but as a direct challenge to its independence and security. Every diplomatic overture is met with suspicion. every negotiation viewed through the lens of past betrayals. President Isaias Afwerki's position is unwavering. Eritrea will not accept foreign control over its ports, nor will it agree to any arrangement that threatens its sovereignty. The message to Ethiopia and the world is clear. Eritrea's independence is non-negotiable. What was once a brotherhood forged in shared struggle has now hardened into a cold, suspicious standoff. The hope for reconciliation remains distant, as both sides cling to their fears and memories of betrayal. Blocked by Eritrea, Ethiopia struck a bold deal with Somaliland, offering recognition and investment for a leased coastline. The agreement promised Ethiopia a port, and Somaliland a path to international legitimacy. But Somalia, seeing Somaliland as its own territory, condemned the deal as illegal and an attack on its sovereignty. International backlash was swift. Somalia rallied support from Turkey, Egypt, and the Arab League. Isolated and under pressure, Ethiopia's plan unraveled, leaving its sea ambitions thwarted once again. The failed deal deepened regional animosities and heightened instability. Somalia's government responded to the Somaliland deal with outrage, viewing it as a violation of its territorial integrity. President Mohamud launched a diplomatic offensive, securing support from Turkey, Egypt, and Gulf states. The Arab League and international community backed Somalia, isolating Ethiopia. The MOU collapsed under this pressure, with Ethiopia unable to proceed without risking a major crisis. Somalia's red line was clear: no deals over its territory without its consent. Ethiopia's failed gamble left it diplomatically weakened and facing a new adversary. The fallout from Ethiopia's failed sea bid has redrawn alliances across the Horn of Africa. Eritrea has aligned with Russia, China, and Egypt, forming a bloc opposed to Ethiopia's ambitions. Somalia, backed by Turkey and Gulf states, has gained new diplomatic strength. Ethiopia, once a regional anchor, now finds itself isolated and pressured by neighbors and global powers alike. The US and EU urge restraint, but Ethiopia's options are narrowing. The quest for sea access has left Ethiopia cornered in a polarized, volatile region. Ethiopia, a nation with a rich history and a rapidly changing present, now finds itself at a pivotal crossroads. Once confident in its bold strategies, the country is now forced to reconsider its approach as shifting alliances and regional dynamics block its ambitions. The streets of Addis Ababa buzz with uncertainty, reflecting the mood of a nation searching for direction. The choices made in the coming months will shape not only Ethiopia's future, but the stability of the entire Horn of Africa. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, once celebrated for his reformist zeal, now calls for peaceful negotiation. He seeks mediation from the African Union, the United Nations, and influential global powers, hoping to find a diplomatic solution to Ethiopia's pressing challenges. The halls of international diplomacy are filled with urgent discussions as leaders weigh the risks and opportunities of engagement. Ethiopia's government is under pressure to balance national interest with the demands of its neighbors and the expectations of the world. At the heart of the crisis lies Ethiopia's quest for access to the sea, a sovereign port lease that would secure its economic future. Yet, this ideal solution remains out of reach. Eritrea stands firmly opposed, wary of Ethiopia's intentions, while Djibouti, though a vital trade partner, remains cautious and non-committal. The region's ports, so close yet so politically distant, symbolize both opportunity and frustration for Ethiopia's leaders. On the ground, trust is in short supply. Tensions simmer along the borders, with military patrols and checkpoints underscoring the ever-present risk of conflict. Civilians watch anxiously, their lives shaped by decisions made far from home. The fear of renewed violence hangs over communities, making the search for peace all the more urgent. The international community watches anxiously, aware that any escalation could have far-reaching consequences. In New York, Geneva, and Addis Ababa, diplomats and observers monitor developments, ready to respond but wary of being drawn into a wider crisis. The world's eyes are fixed on Ethiopia, hoping for signs of compromise and restraint. Ethiopia's dream of reaching the sea endures, fueled by both economic necessity and national pride. Yet the path remains blocked by the weight of history, hardened borders, and deep-seated mistrust. The landscape itself seems to echo the challenges ahead, vast, beautiful, and fraught with obstacles. As dawn breaks over the Horn of Africa, the region waits in a delicate balance, suspended between hope for a diplomatic breakthrough and fear of another devastating conflict. The coming days will test the resolve of leaders and the resilience of ordinary people, as Ethiopia searches for a peaceful path forward.